incredible tenure by Tom. Looking forward to him enjoying his retirement. We are going to miss that guy.
Just think about the old adage, leave it better than you found it. Yep. If ever there were a crime way to Studio C here at BYU Broadcasting for Associate Athletic Director John McBride, who has some words before we get to Tom Holmoe's retirement press conference.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John McBride, Associate Athletic Director here at BYU for Communications and Media Strategy. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you today to this news conference announcing the upcoming retirement of our beloved and the legendary athletic director here at BYU, Tom Holmoe, after 20 years of service. We want to thank Tom and appreciate him being here. Look forward to hearing from him. We want to especially recognize Tom's family here, his wife Lori and the many family who've supported him over these many years, and appreciate their love and support. The format for today, the format of today's event will be as follows. We'll first be pleased to hear remarks from our president of Brigham Young University, President Shane Reese. We're thankful to have President Reese with us. Following President Reese's remarks, we'll have a brief video presentation, and then immediately after the video, we'll then hear some prepared remarks from Tom. And then following Tom's remarks, the remainder of the time will be available for Q&A with the media who are here in Studio C. I'll stand back up and have some instructions at that point, but with that, we will pass things along to President Reese.
I'd like to welcome everyone today, and we were just backstage preparing for this opportunity to address all of you. And how about that big win for the BYU men's basketball team last night? Huge on the road. Yeah, just Tom just returned from that trip, so made it back here just in time for this event. I really wanted to start today, and I'm going to try not to look over at Lori. I want to congratulate Tom and Lori and thank them on behalf of the university for decades of distinguished service. When we talk on this campus about Christ-like leadership, Tom has lived it with our coaches, with our student athletes, and with all of Cougar Nation. I should also add that Tom's pretty good at Halloween costumes as well. From navigating independence to more recently entering the Big 12, his legacy as a student athlete, a coach, an administrator merits every accolade and celebration we have planned for him and his family. We're grateful that Tom has agreed to help us during this transition as we work to appoint an athletic director who will build on the legacy of Christ-like leadership that Tom has set. We've already begun the formal search process for Tom's replacement. This formal search will focus on an individual who absolutely loves BYU, someone who bleeds blue. It will also focus on our distinct mission of both athletic excellence and spiritual development. In President Spencer W. Kimball's prophetic address about BYU's second century, he said, "Until we have climbed the hill just before us, we are not apt to be given a glimpse of what lies beyond. The hills ahead are higher than we think." Tom has climbed some remarkable hills. I would even suggest mountains during his time as athletic director. In this exciting era of BYU sports, there are mountains ahead. BYU and BYU athletics will always be unique in its mission and how we compete and conduct ourselves. And we're grateful for Tom's example of commitment to BYU's spiritual mission and athletic excellence that form the foundation for BYU's exciting future. Again, we express our gratitude to you, Tom, to your family, and congratulate you on your next chapter. And go Cougs.
Thank you, President. I appreciate those kind words. And like you, because of the emotion of the day, I think I'm going to stick to the script. When I retired from playing with the 49ers at the age of 30, my dad remarked to me, "You're the luckiest guy in the world. you have not had to work a day in your life. I believe that what he meant was that if you love what you do at your job and you love the people that you work with, and together you create success, can you really call that work? I thank God every day for the incredible blessing of working at BYU for the past 23 years. I've played, I've coached, and I've administered as a Coug for 30 years. BYU is my home. Our Holmoe family motto is making memories. Our collective memory bank is filled with sweet and cherished memories of the thrills of being a Coug. I count it a miracle that someone who knew nothing about BYU or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a sophomore in high school growing up in Southern California could, one, find my way onto a team coached by the legendary Lavelle Edwards. Two, line up with the first-class teammates in every respect of the word. Three, meet and marry my dream girl, Lori. Four, get exposure at BYU to be drafted into the NFL. Five, return to coach the Cougs for 2 years, which led to jobs at Stanford, Cal, and the 49ers, only to return to BYU for a third time to become the athletic director. I can only say I was passed the baton to play the role of BYU's athletic director in 2005. I knew at the time it would not be my duty to finish the race or to break the tape, but instead to run a good race and be prepared to pass that baton. In 2005, when I first received the baton, we were already pretty darn good at BYU and had been for a few decades. But with the addition of some amazing coaches and a constant, steady stream of remarkable student athletes, we got better. You add to that a fan base that stretches, well, to forever, called Cougar Nation. A student section at games that's second to none, The Rock. Donors and sponsors that not only support the Cougs financially, but willingly and effectively teach us, players, coaches, and administrators, career, business, and life strategies. And we have, with all that, a cheat code for success. In my 9 years with the 49ers, I learned firsthand that to keep a franchise at the top, the leaders of the organization could not allow players and coaches to just hang on to their valued positions while they were in the downturn of their careers. It was a tough pill to swallow for all of us that had to move on, but the 49er organization remained at the top for 20 years. I love my beloved BYU, and I believe strongly in our athletic future. I believe in the leaders that are in place right now. The next few years will be very important decision-making times. Key strategies for the future that don't even exist by a team and a leader that can guide beyond this present day. I don't want to hold on too long, in any way, diminish that greatness which lies ahead for BYU athletics. So far in my remarks today, I've used the pronoun I far too much. My story at BYU from my freshman year in 1978 till today is unquestionably about we. We, our student athletes, our coaches, our athletic staff, our student body and administration, we come to work every day at BYU with a goal to help increase the faith of each other by more fully placing Jesus Christ at the forefront of all our activity, whatever that may be. One of my cherished memories at BYU that I hope I can always hold on to is how many times people would approach me on the street, at the store, at games, and tell me how they were praying for me and for our players and coaches. I would always express my gratitude and let them know that I felt their prayers. I told them that every day Coug teams pray in gratitude for each other, for BYU, for our fans, and for the opportunities that they've been blessed with. We go hard. We make mistakes along the way. We err in our judgment, in decisions. Our efforts sometimes fall short. However, we reach and sometimes, often, exceed our goals. We relish the challenges placed before us. We work to develop student athletes and a staff filled with character. We constantly strive to knit our hearts together as one. To our most excellent coaches, staff, and administration, I will applaud all of you individually in time. You know my love for you. And at the top, a board of trustees that shepherds BYU and is led by a prophet of God. Let's just say we're blessed to receive the very best counsel and guidance that a school could receive. I'm so grateful how each and every one of you have lifted me up in my time of need through 20 years. Plus, if I speak just one name, I'll start bawling. I've raised my family at BYU. They are true blue. I thank my dear wife, Lori, for 42 years. She's been a sure and constant source of love and support. I thank my children and their spouses, Shannon and Robbie, Danny and Carly, Eric and Chrissy, Lauren and Zach. You give me incredible encouragement and way too much advice. And finally, to my grandchildren, Miles, Briggs and Lucy, Rocky, Letty and Desi, Remy and Sonny, Mickey and Ronnie, plus Kobe on the way. We've got 6 more months to play in Papa's Play Place, which is also known as the indoor practice facility. Go Cougs. Thank you.
After years of consideration, we determined that there was no time like the present to chart a path towards it. We're going forward with this direction, and we feel that there's so much to accomplish. This is the pathway that we chose to go for. Congratulations, Cougar Nation. It's been a long time coming, and here we are. Cougar Nation, welcome to the Big 12. Go Cougars! BYU student athletes are the secret sauce. I love them. They are the key ingredient that makes BYU athletics great. Loyal, strong, and true, forever and ever. Thanks, Cougs. Success is a journey, not a destination. Cougar Nation, it's time to continue. Go Cougs.
Okay, we'll open things up for questions from the media at this point. If you want to raise your hand, if you have a question, Kenny has a mic over there on that side. He'll find you. If you can stand and
John Kuhn, Associated Press. Tom, just looking at the timing of your retirement, when did you decide that this was the right time for you to retire? How did that all come about?
I made the decision in July of this year. The last couple years, I've had to seriously contemplate, and my wife and I made the decision for a couple years that let's go one more. Let's go one more. Let's go another. And sometime this summer, I'm not sure about the exact date, I just had a very strong impression that it was time. I'd talked to some people through long years where they would say, you'll know when the time is right. And it was in July. I think my bosses wanted me to give them a little bit more time, like a year, and I just didn't feel that I could do that. Sorry, President. And so at that time, my wife and I talked about it. I went to her and we talked it out, had a little debate, threw a few things at each other, and decided finally after a week that we were on the same page. And at that point in time, I told my children, and they said no, and I said yeah. And I said, look, whether we go 0-12 or 12-0 in football, this is my last season, but we're not going to go 0-12. I knew it. If we would have had if I would have said something early on, it would have been a big distraction for our football team and our other teams. And through the spring and winter conditioning, my talks with Kalani, I knew that we're going to have a good football team. I'll be honest and say I didn't think we would reach the heights that Kalani and his team reached, but I believe that we were a bowl team. I saw them work. I saw it coming together. And at that point in time, I was just praying that it would come together, and it did. So super grateful for my sanity that it was just a sweet and special year. And so about 2 weeks maybe after the season, I went to President and to Keith and said, this is the time. And I said, hey, I'll work through the end of this contract, which is August, and at that point in time, I'll be done. But I'll do whatever you need me to do up until that time. So my president can answer the questions more about that, but I just believe that this is a really good time to make a smooth and effective and powerful transition. I sincerely believe that the pieces are in place for all of our teams. We all believe in the Big 12, that the leadership of the Big 12, man, being in Morgantown last night for a game was special. And this is the right time. So I hope that answers the question.
Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you, Patrick.
Patrick Kinahan, KSL Sports. As you go forward, obviously this university and this athletic department means the world to you, and you want to see it succeed. If you could impart wisdom on whoever your successor is, what do you think it would be?
I don't think there's any question to that answer. And that is down in his office and said, you have got to be aligned with BYU, the school. They all often talk about academic mission or the school's mission and how it's aligned with the athletic department at every school. And I think there's varying degrees of alignment with the school. I don't think people realize that. I think they see athletic departments and football programs as being the #1 star on campus, but the foundation is the school, and it will always be that way. There's things that are going on in athletics right now in college that will bring you away from that. But he said, keep aligned with me, meaning the president, and the direction that I give you, and I will stay aligned with our board of trustees in the church, which we have the closest bond as any school in the country. It's a strength that I could never overstate. And I've just felt that for 20 years, that bond and the support and the strength that I feel when things get tough and things get rough, we're aligned. So they've given me leeway because I'm okay to fail. Like I said in my remarks, we've struggled and stumbled and done some crazy things, and they have grace, and we're good. And that gives me confidence to give that to our coaches, and our coaches feel the same way. And so there's stability, there's structure, and there's consistency, and that rules the day here.
Tom, Jake Hatch, KSL Sports. You mentioned the fact you went year by year over the last little bit in terms of determining what your future was going to be. How much of getting BYU on a solid footing in a new conference was a deciding factor in all of this?
Jake, it's an interesting question because I went in about my 5th or 6th year. I came home one day and said, I can't do this job. This is just way too hard, and I'm not sure I'm really built for this job. And as we go forward, it was like year after year. I've been here for 23 years on a 1-year-to-year contract. I never had a multi-year contract. I never asked for a multi-year contract. They never gave me a multi-year contract. I'm sorry, President. And I didn't want it that way. I literally wanted it to be where I had to work for my food. And if I did a great job in a given year, Keith or Matt Richardson or Kevin Worthen or Fred Skousen, my bosses through those years, would slide the contract across the table when it was contract time, and I would sign the contract without looking at what the terms were. And just knowing that I was just going to have troubles and struggles, it was fine. So I just took them one at a time. There were other issues before the Big 12. Like, I didn't know if I would make it to that. But it's almost like Lori and I think some of those are private. I had some definite goals that I wanted to achieve before I was done. And I'll share one, and just to show you, like when President Samuelson was the president, one of my goals that I told Lori was that I just hope I can finish, that he can finish his tenure, and that he doesn't have to fire me and hire another AD. I'm serious. I think that the fact that he had confidence in me and gave me that job, I just had to finish for him. And then when Kevin took over, I was like, whoa, I made it through one president. That's pretty good. And so I'm working on number 3 now.
Darnell Dixon, the Daily Herald. A lot of coaches and administrators are getting out of the college game because of the changes, the NIL and transfer portal and all of that. How do you feel like you were able to navigate that, considering what BYU represents?
It's a great question. I think that the answer is many faceted, but I look up and see some of my coaches in the stands right now, and we just did it together. There were difficult times. Like, I'll give you one example, and there would be many if I had time, but during COVID, Kalani and I would get together and say, you know, what are we going to do? Really, we would look at each other like, I'm not prepared for this. He's not prepared for this. And then, like, we'd cobble together a schedule and say, Kalani, like, we have a chance to do a home and home with Alabama. You want to do it? And he'd look at me, and I knew in his heart of hearts he's thinking, no, I'm not so sure about that. And he'd go, let's do it. And so, like, together, the coaches and me and my administration, we just figured out a way to get it together and make it work. And so that's kind of how it worked. There were times, I want to speak on COVID a little bit. It was a really fun and exciting time when I say fun. And I say that because, like I look in the stands right now and I see Ryan Smith, who's a friend of ours. And during COVID, and I called him up and said, hey, how's this work? What are you doing? And he runs a business, I run a business. And we had talks, he shared some really private things about his experiences growing his business. And we shared that. And it kind of hit. It wasn't exactly apples and apples, but like what he shared with me, I could hear the coaches taking that emotion and energy and strategy and putting it with their players. And then, you know, Andy Reid would call me and say, hey, let me just tell you, here's how it's working with us. Danny Ainge would call me, here's how it's working with us. We just have this like team of talent in our alums that is seemingly endless. And they just don't call and say, good luck. They're like in it all the way. And so for us to be able to get through difficulties, there are going to be difficulties every day, almost every week, and we like taking them on. We do. It's hard when it happens, but we're always reminded when you get through it, it's going to be sweet.
Jay Drew, Deseret News. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you, Jay.
President mentioned that you would stay involved. So this is a two-part question. How involved will you be, or will you just ride off into the sunset? And second, what's on your bucket list? What's next for you?
Okay. I told President right off the bat that I did sign, but I said it's probably better for everybody to get someone in here sooner than later. And that's a good thing. So if it takes, a week or a month or whatever the time is, when that new AD comes in to ask for my keys to my office, I'll give them to him, and then maybe be selling nachos at the Smith Fieldhouse for the rest of the time.
And just, if I can, Jay, the other thing I would say is that when Tom came to my office until August, until the end of his contract, I did talk to our contracting staff and ask whether or not we could change the year on that contract. And they assured me that it was already signed and executed, so I couldn't do that. It would be in breach. But I'll say that Tom's willingness to be a part of kind of our process going forward is incredible. It shows his commitment to the institution. And candidly, until then, it's going to be business as usual. We're in the throes of a very active basketball that needs to be run, and I'm so grateful for Tom's willingness to dig in and to treat this as another chapter of his incredible legacy that he's continuing to build at BYU.
Hey, my dad wouldn't think that I was working last night at the game, but I was working hard. And, just like I have the greatest job in the world. I really believe I have the best job in the world. And, like, to be able to see Kevin come running off I always go down the tunnel to the locker coach that just fought like crazy to win a game. That's my bliss, is being in the games, seeing the players coming through and just looking at all their eyes. And they just had a really difficult, tough loss at Cincinnati and then battled back. How do you beat that? That's hard to beat. And that's the part that, I think I'll miss. But I'll be in the stands with some of our donors and sponsors and friends and Cougar Nation, and I'll have plenty of opinions that I can state in the stands that I can't really state right now as the AD.
Mitch Harper, KSL Sports. President Reese, you noted something. Just wanted to follow up. You mentioned that there's a formal search going on and that you want someone who's passionate about BYU. Is that focusing in on internal candidates, or are you conducting a national search to find Tom's replacement?
It's a great question, and we're definitely going to conduct a national search. We're going to cast a broad net with the intent of getting the person who is passionate, who bleeds blue. I mean, and committed to the mission. Tom talked about this alignment piece, understanding that we're sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and our connection to our board of trustees, and having that alignment from top to bottom is an incredible asset. I would call it our strategic advantage. I think it's part of what led to some of the magic we saw with our cross-country teams this year. I think it's what led to this magical football season that we've had. And so that means that we've got to be rigorous in our approach for searching. I don't think you ever replace a man like Tom Holmoe. I think there's a successor in this role, but Tom Holmoe's an irreplaceable athletic director. 20 years as an athletic director. I go around and look at Big 12 schools, and that's a rare individual. And you then look at the path that we've trod to get to where we are as an athletic department through independence to entry into the Big 12. It's a remarkable tribute to an incredible career.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of add on to that as far as what President said about the search. One of the things that is super encouraging for me is the day that I came to President and we talked this out, he did ask me if I wanted to stay, but he knew that I had made my decision. But I think it's important to note that, right soon after I knew his feelings and we're super close friends, I knew that he had already turned the page and he was ready to go. And it made me feel so good that he can't wallow in what was. We're looking ahead right now. This is a really good time to make a transition. Transitions are part of sport. Change is part of sport, and it's oftentimes very good. It can be tough, but it's good. And I love the fact, and I'll report this to all of our coaches and our staff, is that President's ready to go. We're going to turn the page. The baton will be handed to a new AD, and we'll hit the ground running. That's what I wanted. That's what President wanted. And I think that's what all Cougar Nation wants.
This will be our final question.
Kevin Reynolds with the Sully Tribune. Tom, I know you've prepared a lot for revenue sharing and things like that, but how much of that is already in place, and what are the biggest challenges you see in whoever is your successor?
Kevin, I think there are a lot of new things on the horizon. Revenue share, NIL, transfer portal, the House settlement, that will be an ongoing challenge, has been, is, and will be for a few years. I think that the work that we've done in the last 2 years is solid. I was with an AD friend of mine last night, and one of the things that we were talking about was no one's going to really know how good we're doing at this right now until a year or two or three from now, when you can see how it paid off. There's been people that thought they were doing it well, and it hasn't turned out too well. But I have a great team right now. And I have, in the last year, and maybe even two, subconsciously knowing that this was going to come to an end soon, I've been turning over a lot of strength and power to my team. And I have a right-hand man, a wingman, B. Santiago, and I've been giving him a lot of strength. And in this NIL and house and these things, we are working every single day to plan for the future. So it's not like I have to just start, we're going to start from scratch. We're down the road quite a bit. They will make adjustments when I'm not here because I'll be gone, and that's a good thing to be able to have people look at things in a different way. I'm totally confident that the shifts and the moves and how it changes will happen naturally and in a normal way. And we got this.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, President. And thanks to everyone for being here today.